Have you ever looked at a plant and just felt like you were missing something? Like there's a hidden story buried in its leaves, its stems, its roots? Well, you're not wrong. There is. Today, we're diving into plant morphology, which is basically the science of reading a plant's secret identity, written right into its physical form.
All right, to get us started, I've got a quick question for you. Take a look at these three things. What could they possibly have in common? So on one hand, you have the big, classic green leaf of an oak tree. Then there's the sharp, skinny needle of a pine. And finally, that menacing, sharp spine of a cactus. I mean, they look completely unrelated, right? Built for totally different worlds. But what if I told you they all share a deep evolutionary secret? That's right. The answer is they are all, evolutionarily speaking, leaves. It's just that they've been modified over millions of years for totally different jobs. One for photosynthesis, one for conserving water, and one for defense. And that right there is the core magic of plant morphology, seeing that common blueprint hidden underneath all that wild diversity.
So you see, morphology isn't just about naming parts. It's a comparative science. It's like being a detective. Morphologists look at structures across different species, like a spine and a leaf, and they ask why. Why are they similar? Why are they different? And in answering that, they uncover this incredible evolutionary story of adaptation.
So how do botanists actually do this? How do they crack the code? Well, they use a specific toolkit of concepts to interpret what they're seeing.
Okay, there are two really key ideas in this toolkit. The first is homology. This is when structures are similar because they share a common ancestor. That's our cactus spine and our oak leaf. Both are fundamentally leaves, just repurposed. The second idea is convergence. This is when totally unrelated plants evolve similar features all on their own, usually to solve the same problem. Just think about how cacti and certain euphorbia plants both develop these fleshy, water-storing bodies to survive in the desert, even though they come from completely different plant families.
Okay, let's start our tour of the plant body from the ground up, with the root system. And trust me, it's doing a lot more down there than just hanging on for dear life.
Now, pretty much every root has a few basic jobs. Anchor the plant in the ground, soak up water and minerals, and often act like a pantry for storing food. But that's the standard stuff. Where it gets really interesting is when roots take on entirely new jobs.
This is where root modifications can get absolutely wild. The banyan tree's crown can get so huge that its main trunk just can't hold the weight anymore. So what does it do? It drops these incredible prop roots down from its branches, which then dig into the ground and become these thick, pillar-like supports. It's amazing. Now here's another strategy for that same problem of stability. Plants like this one, the pandanus, often grow in unstable, marshy soil. So to keep from falling over, they develop these thick, stilt roots that pop out from the lower part of the stem and brace the whole plant like a tripod. Two different plants, two totally brilliant root solutions.
And then, of course, you've got storage. A carrot is the perfect example. It's just a taproot that's been modified into this fleshy, swollen organ, packing away sugars to fuel the plant's growth later on.
Okay, moving up the plant, we get to the stem. It's the main transport highway for sure, but it's also a master of disguise, often looking like something else entirely.
Now, it can be really tricky to tell an underground stem from a root, but there are a few dead giveaways. Stems, even the ones underground, always have nodes and internodes. Those are the points where leaves attach and the spaces between them. They also have buds. Roots, they have none of that. But what they do have is a little protective root cap at their very tip.
And this brings us to a classic botanical surprise. A potato is a stem. Yep, those eyes you always see on a potato, those are the nodes, and each one has a bud that can sprout a whole new plant. That's the definitive proof that you're looking at a modified underground stem, a tuber that's just built for storage. Stems can also transform to help plants conquer new territory. In climbers, like grapevines, those same buds you find in a potato's eye don't grow into branches. Instead, they modify into these thin, wiry tendrils that coil around anything they can find, pulling the plant up, up, up toward the light.
Now for the leaf, the plant's primary solar panel. Its main job, of course, is photosynthesis. But as we saw right at the beginning, it has been reimagined in some of the most spectacular ways imaginable.
So in soils that are really poor in nutrients, some plants have turned to carnivory, and their leaves have become these ingenious traps. The pitcher plant modifies its entire leaf blade into a pitcher, complete with a little lid. Insects are lured in, they fall into a pool of digestive fluid, and they provide the plant with vital nitrogen it can't get from the soil. But a passive pitfall trap is just one strategy. The Venus flytrap, well, it takes things to a whole other level. Its leaf is modified into an active, spring-loaded trap. When an unsuspecting insect touches those little trigger hairs, the two lobes snap shut, imprisoning the prey. This is plant modification at its most dramatic.
We've seen roots, stems, and leaves all in disguise. But all of this, it's all leading up to what is, without a doubt, the most complex and beautiful modification in the entire plant kingdom, the flower. Okay, here's the part that just blows my mind. A flower isn't a totally new thing. It's a highly modified shoot. That very tip of the stem that would normally just keep growing and making leaves, the apical meristem, it completely transforms. Its entire purpose shifts from growth to reproduction.
Just think about that for a second. Every single part of a flower, the protective green sepals, the colorful petals, the pollen-producing stamens, and the ovule-bearing carpels at the center, all of them are homologous to leaves. They are just modified leaves, all arranged in these dense whorls on a compressed stem, working together for one purpose, creating the next generation.
And this level of sophisticated organization is just incredible. We can see it in something called plantation, which is the precise geometric way the ovules, the future seeds, are arranged inside the ovary. Whether they're lined up like in a pea pod or arranged in the center like a tomato, these intricate patterns are all variations on that same modified shoot blueprint.
So now you have it. You have the morphologist's toolkit. You can see the homology, you understand the modifications. The next time you see a twisting tendril, a sharp spine, or even a humble potato, you'll know the secret story it's telling. You've learned the code, so what will you go out and read?